Abigail, David's forgotten sister? Or a royal deception? The Bible. It's packed with epic stories, divine moments, and let's be honest, family drama that could give any modern soap opera a run for its money. We feel like we know its biggest heroes, right? Take King David, the shepherd boy who took down Goliath and rose to become Israel's most celebrated king. His family tree, so carefully mapped out, is like a super important blueprint for future predictions. But what if I told you there's someone in David's own family, his sister Abigail, whose story throws up a pretty big question mark, a piece of the puzzle that just doesn't quite click into place? So you've got Chronicles 2, which clearly states that Jesse, David's famous dad, was also Abigail's father. Seems straightforward. But then, whoa, hold on a minute. Fast forward to 2 Samuel 17, and suddenly the story changes. It calls Abigail the daughter of a mysterious guy named Nahash. Two different dads for the same woman? It's like finding out your favorite character in a long-running TV show suddenly has a different backstory in a spin-off episode. Now, this isn't just some tiny, insignificant detail we can skim over. It's a direct contradiction that makes you wonder about David's family and even the purity of the royal lineage. So what's the deal? A simple typo by a scribe? A lost bit of history? Or could it be something juicier, like a royal cover-up hidden in plain sight? All right, let's dig into the actual verses, the heart of this whole puzzle. First up, the book of Chronicles. If you look at 1 Chronicles chapter 2 verses 13 through 16, it carefully lists Jesse's sons, Eliab, Abinadab, Shimea, Nethanel, Radai, Ozem, and number 7, David himself. Then, verse 16 drops this. Their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail. Seems pretty clear-cut, doesn't it? Jesse is David's father, and according to this, he's also the father of Zeruiah and Abigail. That would make Abigail David's full sister. Verse 17 adds that Abigail was the mother of Amasa, whose father was Jether the Ishmaelite. And this Amasa, he becomes pretty important later in David's story. Now, let's flip over to the book of Samuel. In 2 Samuel chapter 17 verse 25 write, in the middle of Absalom's chaotic rebellion, we get a description of Amasa, Abigail's son. It says, Absalom had appointed Amasa over the army in place of Joab. Amasa was the son of a man named Jether, an Israelite who had married Abigail, the daughter of Nahash and sister of Zeruiah, the mother of Joab. See that? Daughter of Nahash. Not Jesse. So there you have it. 1 Chronicles says Jesse. 2 Samuel says Nahash. This isn't just a little footnote we can ignore. It's like having two different birth certificates for the same person, each listing a different father. It's a direct contradiction about the family of a woman connected to King David's royal house. So, who was Abigail? David's sister, definitely. Mother of Amasa, a big-shot military guy. But whose daughter was she? And who on earth is this Nahash who just pops up in the Davidic family tree out of nowhere, like an unexpected guest star crashing the family portrait? Now, this name Nahash, it's pretty interesting on its own. In Hebrew, it means serpent. Could be symbolic, could just be a name, but it definitely adds a bit of mystery, doesn't it? There's actually a Nahash mentioned in the Bible who was a king of the Ammonites, one of Israel's enemies, someone King Saul, David's predecessor, even fought. So, could Abigail's father be this Ammonite king? If so, that would make David's sister half Ammonite. Talk about a plot twist. It'd be like finding out a member of the British royal family had a secret parent from a rival nation. Heads would definitely turn. So let's look at what scholars and theologians have come up with to try and make sense of these conflicting accounts. This one's probably the most popular explanation. The idea here is that David's mother, the Bible doesn't actually name her, but Jewish tradition calls her Nitzevet, was first married to this guy, Nahash. Together, they had two daughters, Abigail and Zeruiah. After Nahash died, or they split up, she then married Jesse and went on to have David and his brothers. If this is the case, Abigail and Zeruiah would be David's half-sisters. Same mom, different dad. This would explain why Worse Chronicles, which is really focused on David's line through Jesse, might still call them his sisters in a general family sense. Think of it like a modern, blended family Christmas card photo where everyone's included. Meanwhile, 2 Samuel gives us the more specific who's who of Abigail's parentage. Blended families like this were pretty common back then, so it wouldn't necessarily be about deception, just a complex family setup, not unlike many today. Some ancient rabbinic commentators, including the famous Rashi, suggested that Nahash was simply another name, or maybe even a title for Jesse. The thinking behind this is often symbolic. Jesse was called Nahash, serpent, because an interesting idea here, he died without any personal sin, but only because of Adam's original sin, which, as we know, involved the serpent in Eden. It's a fascinating theological take, but many modern scholars think it's less likely if you're looking at it strictly from a historical or textual angle. It's like saying, the Big Apple is New York City. True, but in a genealogy you expect literal names. Using a symbolic nickname here to solve a factual discrepancy is like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole using a philosophical hammer. Still, it shows you how much thought people have put into this puzzle. Then there's the chance it was just a simple goof when someone was copying the manuscripts. Imagine a medieval scribe, quill in hand. Maybe they sneezed or got distracted. The names Nahash, that's NHSH in Hebrew, and Jesse, Yashai, don't look all that similar, so a quick visual mix-up isn't the most obvious answer. But hey, mistakes happen in all sorts of ways when you're copying text by hand. Some scholars point out that the name Nahash actually shows up just 2 verses later in 2 Samuel 17:27, talking about Shobi, son of Nahash the Ammonite, who brought supplies to David. It's possible the name got accidentally copied, or dropped, into verse 25, like a typo auto-correcting to the wrong word because it appeared nearby. There's even been talk among scholars that the text of 2 Samuel 17:25 might be a bit messy or corrupt, like an old document with a coffee stain smudging a keyword, which could support this idea. Interestingly, the Septuagint, an early Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, actually says daughter of Jesse in some versions of 2 Samuel 17:25. That would solve the problem neatly, though the standard Hebrew Bible, the Masoretic text, definitely says Nahash. It's like having 2 editions of a famous novel, and one has a different character name. Which one is the original manuscript's intent? This one's a bit less common. What if Nahash was the name of Jesse's wife, David's mom? If so, Abigail. Being called daughter of Nahash would mean daughter of her mother. Now that wasn't the usual way of listing family trees. They were mostly patrilineal through the father. But it wasn't completely unheard of, especially if the mother was a big deal, or if there was some complication with the father's side. The main hitch here is that Nahash is generally a man's name in the Bible. Calling a woman Nahash would be like meeting a woman today named Richard. Not impossible, but definitely unusual. This theory circles back to Nahash being that Ammonite king. What if David's mother was married to this king before Jesse, or had Abigail by him, and then married Jesse? That would make Abigail David's half-sister with royal Ammonite blood. Think about the political ripples that could cause. It's worth noting David did show kindness to Hanun, the son of Nahash, king of Ammon, which might hint at some kind of earlier positive link or duty, kind of like a modern leader making a surprisingly friendly gesture to a rival nation, making you wonder about the hidden backstory. Some even stretch this further, and this is really out there, like deep conspiracy theory territory, not widely accepted, to suggest David himself might have had a biological tie to Nahash, with Jesse being more of an adoptive father. This is floated to explain David's fighting skills, or even why he seemed a bit of an outsider in his own family at first. But again, that last part is very speculative, like suggesting a superhero got their powers from a secret alien relative rather than the official origin story. So when you weigh all these theories, which one seems to hold the most water? Well, the idea that Nahash was David's mother's first husband, making Abigail and Zeruiah David's half-sisters on his mom's side, that seems to be the most straightforward explanation, the Occam's razor of this Abigail puzzle, and the one many scholars lean towards. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. Just one word will be greatly appreciated. And I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel for more women in the Bible stories.